Coming up, a 90-minute gubernatorial debate full of sparks and jabs on a wide range of topics.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. With Kentucky's primary election 2 weeks from tomorrow, 5 of the 12 names appearing on the Republican ballot for governor faced off in a statewide forum tonight. It was very interesting 90 minutes on KET. Daniel Cameron, Kelly Craft, Eric Deters, Alan Keck, and Ryan Quarles were all invited. It was the first time the two frontrunners, Craft and Cameron, were on the same stage. Topics ranged from Medicaid to how they would have handled COVID to gun control. The candidates were read a Fox News poll that says more than 80% of voters favor background checks requiring mental health checks and a waiting period while buying a gun. They were then asked point blank where they stand on any kind of gun legislation, and that includes the law that allows weapons used in murders to be auctioned off.
I'm not touching the Second Amendment and due process. We need to make certain that we follow the rules that are currently written, and we have to open the conversation of mental health, of mental illness.
I think that the Second Amendment should be respected. Our due process rights should be respected as well. But the household I grew up in is like countless other Kentuckians, where I was proud that my dad taught me how to shoot a gun. Bought him one for Christmas this past year for personal protection.
I do think we have an olive branch on murder weapons. I think it's insane that those are being sold to the highest bidder. That should not be a showpiece. It's a murder weapon, and I can't imagine that grieving family knowing that that gun is going to somebody else's mantle.
I don't support any sort of gun control. The Second Amendment is sacrosanct, and we need to make sure that we protect it for Kentuckians all across the Commonwealth.
I think that I stand with Kentuckians across the state, that I am sick and tired of the gun violence that happens, where the violence comes from those shooting and the people that are being shot are not armed.
Shortly after that exchange, the forum went off the rails a bit with accusations regarding fundraising, ethics, and candidates under investigation. Things also got heated during a discussion about supporting law enforcement. Kelly Craft saying Daniel Cameron does not have confidence in the Louisville Metro Police Department, referring to U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland's investigation into civil rights violations related to the Breonna Taylor case. Eric Deters called out all the candidates for not supporting former President Trump and said he still believes Trump won the 2020 election. Here's just a bit of the exchange that went on for several minutes.
Let's talk about the Attorney General appreciating Merrick Garland coming into Louisville, this woke DOJ, allowing Merrick Garland by saying, I appreciate him being here. I appreciate the fact that he's going to now oversee the Louisville Metro Police Department. What does that say about backing the blue?
Kelly's been sitting with law enforcement and has got one to openly and publicly support her. I've got over 100 law enforcement officials that have supported and endorsed this campaign for governor. I'm going to continue to fight for them, whether Kelly Craft spends $10 million attacking me or not.
Do you believe that President Trump won the 2020 election?
Absolutely. I'm the only person on this stage who says they stole it.
But look,
I've not been silent for 4 years. I've been leading a community in Kentucky talking about Kentucky issues. Look,
not defending Trump.
We can fight over Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell all we want. I look for a day when we don't wait for crumbs from Washington to come and save us. You know, quite honestly, the last 10 minutes are why people are sick of politics in America.
But the answer to the question is yes or no.
President Biden's our president.
Did President Biden win the election fair and square?
I know that Donald Trump won big in Kentucky, and that I think that there's reason to question some of the things that we saw in various cities around the United States.
And the spars between the candidates started well before the back and forth you saw there. Today, candidate Eric Deters filed a lawsuit challenging Kelly Craft's residency, claiming she does not meet the Kentucky citizenship requirements to be governor, saying she's legally a resident of Oklahoma. Craft denies this, saying she was born, raised, and went to school in Kentucky. and was vetted by federal officials as a Kentucky resident. Well, it was a very interesting debate, and there's going to be another one. Gray Television will host the Kentucky debate next Monday night, May 8th. It will be at Transylvania University at 7 o'clock. WKYT is still awaiting confirmation from some of the candidates who were invited, although at least one, Kelly Craft, said tonight in a news release she was looking forward to it. You'll be able to see that debate right here live on WYMT. Again, that's next Monday night at 7 o'clock. The primary election is 2 weeks away from tomorrow, May 16th.
Well, a breezy one out there throughout this Monday, this first day of May, all throughout the region. We had some pretty high gusts out there at times. Look at those. You see some of the highest gusts out west. Somerset gusted to 36 today, 35-mile-per-hour gust from London, 33 in Moorhead. Look at Louisville. They gusted to 41 earlier. The good news, we're starting to calm those down a little bit. Yeah, we've still got some gusts to 20 along the Kentucky-Virginia border, but we're really starting to calm things down. You can see where we stayed cloudy throughout the day. They've fallen faster into the mid-40s in the Big Sandy. We're still holding on to the low and even middle 50s across the Kentucky River Valley and into the Cumberland Valley this evening. And we did get near 60. In fact, Monticello and Jacksboro and Middlesboro got above 60 today, or at least 260. A lot of us, though, stayed in the 50s. Still watching a few showers out there at this hour. Again, watching a few there along the I-64 corridor and a few more there in the parts of Southwest Virginia. Everything's starting to scoot on out of the Commonwealth. That's the good news. Your forecast first as you pour your bowl of cereal in the morning. Looking cool but dry. Mid-40s out there as we kick off our Tuesday with plenty of sunshine, but that will change later in the day. Steve, I'll have the details on when those showers try to move back in a few minutes.
All right, Evan, thank you. Some flood survivors are still finding creative ways around damage to their property that is being repaired. Letcher County and Lisa Isaacs was trapped after the flood tore apart her bridge, so she had to use a wire and basket for people to give her groceries before she installed a steel beam to walk across. Isaac says she just had to get creative to survive.
People would drop stuff off and I could pull the rope. We'd just shuttle it back and forth. And one of my friends let me borrow a little cloth wagon, so I pull the wagon over, get supplies, and take it back.
As Isaacs gets another bridge built that will connect her home to the highway, she hopes her family can move back and they can be reunited. Several events are set to take place at the Mine-Made Adventure Park in Knott County while flood survivors are still living on the property. Knott County Judge Executive Jeff Dobson says although 16 flood survivor campers are still at Mine-Made, rental spots are not going to be impacted. He says he and the long-term recovery group want to work with flood survivors and not against them.
By no means are they going to kick these folks out or going to give them, say they're going to be next week, next month, that you're going to have to go. You know, we do encourage people. We want people to get back on their own. This is not a permanent fix for them, but this is going to bridge the gap until they do get back on their feet.
Dobson says state funding helped to ensure the local economy would not be impacted by flood survivors living on mine-made property. Police in Eastern Kentucky are asking for your help solving a cold case. On this day 22 years ago, Gary Lee Adkins Jr. was hit and killed by a car in Moorhead. He was walking on West Main Street when it happened. Police say the family is still hopeful that the case will be solved. If you have any information, you should call the Moorhead Police Department. Kindergarten students in Pike County got to hear about a possible career for them years down the road. It's part of one of the newest programs created by officials at Pikeville Medical Center called Doctor's Day. It is catered to teaching students about careers in the medical field. Pikeville Medical Center Vice President for Workforce Development, James Glass, says they want to start this early.
And so we want to start early, want to go early and often as it relates to trying to educate these young people as to what type of careers we have here in Eastern Kentucky, specifically as it's related to the healthcare careers, anything from nursing to doctors to rad techs to therapists.
Glass says he hopes the program inspires youth to think about a possible future in the medical field. The first Monday in May is known as Melanoma Monday. a day aimed at raising awareness to help people avoid a painful or even life-changing diagnosis of skin cancer. Nurse practitioner Leslie Deaton says as we approach summer, it's important to wear SPF sunscreen or higher and make sure you are applying it well.
The misconception with sunscreens is a lot of people like the spray, the aerosols, because they're easy. But the thing is, you still have to rub those in. So if you spray your skin and you don't rub those in, you're still not getting the protection.
She says she does not have a specific brand she thinks is best, but says it's also important not to forget the top of your head or your ears when applying sunscreen as well. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, First Republic Bank becomes the third bank to fail in the U.S. since March. What this means for consumers.
And we continue to watch the potential for scattered showers in the forecast. I'm breaking down the latest coming up after this.